Hi, hello, welcome back guys. I hope you are doing good and I'm great here in Japan. I am Vasudevan and we are Life in Japan Tamil. என்னடா தமிழில் சேனல் வச்சுட்டு இங்கிலீஷ்லேயே பேசுகிறான்னு பார்க்குறீங்களா? ஆமாங்க, இந்த வீடியோ வந்து கொஞ்சம் ஸ்பெஷலாக இருக்கணும்ன்ட்டு தமிழ் ஆடியன்ஸ் மட்டும் இல்லாமல் இந்தியாவில் இருக்கிற மற்ற ஆடியன்ஸுக்கு கொண்டு போய் சேர்க்கலான்னு பார்க்குறோம். This video is going to be especially for people who want to work in Japan but don't know how and where to start. So come on, let's unlock the opportunities in Japan and find out how Indians can benefit from it. Come on, let's get into the video. Today I am going to talk about the opportunities in Japan and how Indians can benefit from it. So this is going to be a brief discussion on working in Japan and the importance of Japanese language. This is today's agenda. So we'll be touching upon the introduction to the land of rising sun, work opportunities in Japan, benefits of working in Japan, and we'll have an interesting discussion about Japanese language and the exams related to that, work opportunities in India as well with the Japanese skill set, eligibility criteria for jobs in Japan, and the very important topic like how to apply for jobs in Japan, and a little bit of references. Japan is one of the most developed country in the world with the cutting edge technological innovations, and the bullet trains, robots, automation, automobiles, vending machine are some of the buzzwords of Japan. So Japan was the second largest economy in the world. It lost its second position to China very recently. So now it is the third largest economy worth $5.2 trillion, and it is one of the largest exporter of electronics, be it automobile, and it's one of the member of the G7 countries, which means it is one of the most powerful country in the world. And obviously it is by far the safest country in the world, with Tokyo being named as the safest city for so many years by now. It is a punctuality. They are the epitome, the perfect example of punctuality. I mean, even a minute coming late to the office is considered as rude, and it is totally unacceptable. So these are all some of the quick touch upon points about Japan. Oh yes, like somebody mentioned, bullet train. The bullet train, I have been in bullet train once, and it was a dream come true experience, I would say. The trains clocking up to 500 km per hour, and currently Japan is testing another train, bullet train, which can go up to 600 km per hour. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of technological innovations, and Japan is rightly considered as the capital of the world, I would say, robots and everything. And Japanese people really love the automation thing. So that's why they have installed vending machine. In this picture you can see in the same road there are about 7 vending machines. I mean, this is the only in Japan moment, I would say. So there are like 5 million vending machines in Japan, and which equals to 23 people. For every 23 people there is one vending machine. I mean, that is nowhere else in the world. And as rightly mentioned, robots are part and parcel of Japanese life. So very easily we can find a robot restaurant in Tokyo, and there is also a restaurant which is totally run by dinosaur. So these are all the wow moments, I would say. And of course it is Japan is so safe, so that even a small kid can travel alone in the VRs in the night, and I mean, people don't even lock their doors. It is so safe that crimes are rarely reported in the news. I mean, I can say it's the perfect destination to just live without worrying about the petty issues. So besides all this glamour and gala event of Japan, Japan is facing a very big issue in terms of population. So if you see this diagram, bar chart, you can see two big spikes. This is the very recent population chart of 2020, Japanese population. So if you see, the majority of the population are aged beyond 45 to 50. So the average age of a Japanese citizen is 49. And any guesses about Indian citizen average age? So there are some guesses about the Indian average age. So the average age of an Indian is 29, which means we are the most the dynamic population with youth. But whereas Japan is considered, the average age is 49, and the Japan's population is declining every year by year, and it is estimated that it is going to lose 24% of its population by 2050. I mean, which means right now the population is 12 crore. By another 30 years, it's going to be around 8 crore, which is such a worrying factor. So that's why Japan has opened up a lot of opportunities for foreigners. For example, there are 150 jobs for every 100 people. I mean, which gives a projection that how the job shortage is there in Japan. So to overcome this problem, very recently Japan has passed a bill that to welcome around 3.4 lakh foreign talents for the next 5 years, which includes the technical, non-technical, the semi-skilled, all the areas. So right now I would say Japan is with opened red carpet to invite the foreign talents to take up or to fill up the job shortages. Out of all that, Indian information technology tops the chart in the workforce shortage. So IT is the area where Japan lacks a lot of workforce. And not just IT, I would say, I mean, every other engineering field has also got an abundant job opportunities in Japan, be it an electronics or a mechanical or civil or whatever engineering, you name it, there is going to be job opportunities in Japan. And as I mentioned earlier, the Indian young and dynamic workforce can definitely solve this Japan's work shortage. So yeah, let's see what it takes to work in Japan, the benefits. Yeah. So when I've been here for quite few months, I would just to say it's been around 9 months. My career advancement is multiple times more than myself working in India. I'm pretty sure about it. And the welcoming mindset of Japanese people, there are certain countries where racism is a much spoken concept. Like people, even a foreigner cannot be happy there, even in spite of being a good country. But Japan is totally different in that way, I would say. There is absolutely no racism, and people are warm-heartedly, they welcome foreigners and pay a very good pay. That's pretty important, I would say, financially, working in India and working in Japan. So the same work we do in Japan, the pay should be definitely multiple times than the same job we do in India. So that is one of the very big plus point, because we know ultimately it's the financial and the money what determines our value, the work-life balance. Somebody told in the chat rightly that workaholic. So if I say Japan, so every time we hear in the news that Japanese people work for like hours together, 15 hours, 12 hours, and that is a pretty common mindset. Even I was of that opinion until I landed here. So frankly, my job is from 9 to 5, and that is fixed. And it might be surprising, because after working for 5 years in India, where I have to strive hard for 12 hours on a regular basis, especially in my previous company called Deloitte, I used to work for 12 hours on an average every day, and which was very depressing. And there was not a concept called overtime in Indian IT particularly, but in Japan, even a 15 minutes extra we work, that is paid. So if I work from 9 to 5 and if I extend for 2 hours extra, I mean, there is some deliverables to finish, so I'll have to extend. So that 2 hours will be given back as an overtime, something we have in Indian mechanical companies but never in IT companies. So that is one big thing, I would say. And many public holidays, so every 4 months you get a 10-day holiday. So yeah, I think I've spoken much about Japan, but now let's get to the topic, the core of the topic. Let's talk about Japanese language. Yes, it is considered as one of the toughest language in the world. Yes, it is toughest language when it compares to Chinese, because Chinese and Japanese go hand in hand. The major reason to consider Japanese as the toughest language is because of the characters. The Japanese characters are called kanji, which are primarily derived from Chinese. So this is basically the kanji characters, I mean, derived from Chinese. So the commonly used kanji characters are 2000. The official figures are around maybe 6000, I would say, but it is definitely not mandatory to know all of it. So Japanese has been simplified in the script into two major divisions called hiragana and katakana. Each has got 46 characters. So forget kanji. Somebody has to learn Japanese, they can just get away with hiragana and katakana, which are primarily the building blocks or the baby steps to learn Japanese, I would say. So is Japanese really tough? The question, the answer is a big no, because it is proven fact that Indian languages share a similar grammar pattern when it comes to Japanese. For example, when I was learning Japanese, I used to think we as an Indians, we used to think whatever in our mother tongue as well, not just in English. When I was comparing Japanese with English, I was not able to understand even a single thing. Like, it took a lot of time for me to even correlate the concepts. But when I started mapping Japanese with Tamil or any other language for that matter, so the grammar pattern was ridiculously, and it was coincidentally perfectly, it was matching a lot. And for example, if I say in Tamil poittu varen, which means, I mean, I cannot say that in English as I will go and come, which means it is a broken a butler English, which they will say. But in Japanese, it is exactly it matches the poittu varen in Japanese matches exactly the same, and that's how even every grammar pattern is in sync with Japanese. So I would say we have an upper hand. Indians do really have an upper hand in learning Japanese as well. Like I said, the Japanese scripts called hiragana, kanji, and the katakana. So hiragana, we can say one can just learn Japanese only with hiragana and katakana itself. Katakana is basically used for foreign characters, like your name and my name are not Japanese native words. So whatever which is outside of Japan, they use katakana script. For example, a TV, a radio, or whatever, or foreign names, a foreign city, everything is written in katakana. And kanji, like I said, it is a complicated one, but yes, we can study as well. So when it comes to language, obviously there will be an proficiency test associated with it. So that is called Japanese language proficiency test. How much percent of Japanese might know English? Your guesses? Actually, there is not a perfect statistics, but Japan ranks poorly when it comes to English. For example, very recently I read an article which measures the English proficiency of the foreign countries. Singapore was first, India was I think 20th in that position where English is widely spoken, but Japan was 55th place, which is a very bad scenario, which means English is not even spoken by minimum 10% of the people. So just I said, English is totally invalid in Japan, I would say, especially when it comes to business. It is totally invalid. And after being here, I mean, all the jobs I see, the basic requirement would be Japanese, and very rarely you can come across a job which says no Japanese, only English, and that is just less than 5%, I would say. So this exam, JLPT, is a biannual exam which is conducted across the globe to check the Japanese level proficiency. So this JLPT is conducted on July, first week of July and first week of December. So the broad classification of JLPT would be from N5 to N1. So N5 being the absolute beginner level, N4 being the beginner level, N3 which is an intermediate level, N2 a business level, and N1 which is a near native level, like a native Japanese. So all of us, the participants and others who wants to understand about the scenario or the work opportunities in Japan, definitely need to pursue a career in Japan, right? So for all of you guys, N4 level, JLPT N4 level with some basic conversational Japanese is definitely mandatory to even apply for jobs. Yes, not everybody wants to leave our home country and work in a different land, right? Maybe to some extent, but we cannot keep on doing that forever. So ultimately we need to come back to India even if we work in Japan. So that thing, I mean, working in India with Japanese skill is also a very unique and an evergreen skill set, I would say. So let's just dig upon that topic as well. So there are approximately 7,000 business Japanese establishments in India, and Maharashtra comes first in that list with around I think 800 companies. So our Tamil Nadu state hosts second largest number of Japanese companies. So this data might be old, but it still stands out. 670 companies in Tamil Nadu, and a majority of the companies are in Chennai. We all know that the leading automobile companies like Honda, Mitsubishi, Toyota, and so many companies. I mean, Japanese companies are the a normal names these days. Japanese people who have established, they definitely cannot speak English. Even if they speak English, I mean, it will not be up to not even up to our level, I would say. So all these people definitely need some interpreter or translators. So that's where the English to Japanese translation and interpretation jobs pitches in. It is by far the evergreen skill set, I would say, because not everybody wants to take up a career in translation or interpretation. So when there is a less competition, you stand out as a unique skill set. So if anybody wants to learn a foreign language like German, Spanish, French is what the usual options people see, especially the youngsters. They want to learn German, but there are a very limited guys who say Japanese. Maybe now the situation is increasing because of the awareness being created, but I strongly suggest that if you want to take up some unique thing in your if you want to add something to yourself, to your professional life, you can definitely learn Japanese. That would be my kindest advice, and your life will change for that, for pretty sure, I would say. So let's see how and what it takes to search jobs in Japan. Okay, to start up, the pursuit of jobs begins with the Japanese language skill set, and which is no doubt that's a mandatory thing. Minimum of N4 with conversation ability, yes, that is very well needed. So a fresher who has got some technical knowledge, I would advise you to first pick up your path, be it an IT or a ECE or whatever you have. You have to first determine your path, and if you want to pursue a career in Japan, so based on that the Japanese level matters actually. So a detailed LinkedIn profile with a 2-page resume in English and Japanese. Obviously people would find something odd to see a resume in Japanese, so obviously everybody will have a resume. Keep it sweet and simple, into 2-page English resume, gaining recruiters connection in LinkedIn. So yes, I will touch upon that point in upcoming slides as well. And conversation ability is more important than JLPT certificates. Pathway to Japan with visa sponsored. Visa sponsored is a creamy word, I should say. How to find jobs in Japan with visa sponsored. So the first thing is meeting the eligibility criteria, which is Japanese and the technical skill. So the common job portals, I'm glad that people are having a LinkedIn profile active, and just maintain that. Naukri, Indeed also will help you. Career Cross, thy job, and there are n number of job portals, I should say. So these are all the websites which you need to be active. So most of the Japanese companies works via consultancies, and the very important thing I want to stress here, guys, there is no service charge. Don't spend a single penny. If somebody says that I will get you a job in Japan, just don't believe them. It is straight away a sure shot spam, because none of the company, as far as I know, nobody has asked us money to process my application. They just ask you, can you speak in Japanese and what are the skills you possess. For example, can you speak fluently or can you speak basic Japanese is what they ask. But they never ask money for in any cycle of the interview. Like I said, the work visa will be sponsored by the hiring company once everything goes well, the interview process. Now we'll see about the workflow of the Japanese interview. Like I said, minimum of N4. Just don't even think that N5 is gonna work. N4, you can start applying the jobs. Technical skill set, experienced or fresher. Like I stressed upon, first identify your path. If you're on IT, you can very well contact me. I know like which works in Japan and which doesn't work. And for other field as well, like for example, if there is a mechanical or an automobile or an civil or ECE guy who wants to work in Japan, first he need to understand like what is the basic Japanese level needed. So somebody who wants to pursue a career in Japan, I will say invest 1 year of your time in learning Japanese. Within 1 year, I'm pretty sure that you can come up to N3 level, and you can also speak in good Japanese. I mean, you can introduce yourself, you can understand what others are saying, and you should be in a good position. Interview in Japanese language to check both technical and language skill. So this is a very important point, because none of the Japanese speak English, and definitely they cannot understand English as well. So Japanese are very weak in English, and definitely don't expect them to understand your English. So you have to speak in Japanese in the interview. So I assume that a lot of people have got a fair amount of idea about interviews in India. So it works in a multiple layered way, because they have quantitative aptitude, they have a GD, they have a technical round and a HR round. But when it comes to interview in Japan, it is just a mere language check. First they check whether you are good enough in Japanese, and then they check like what you're capable of. For example, I say I'm a Java developer, or I'm an SAP ABAP developer. They ask me, do you work on this, do you work on that, can you code this, can you code that, have you been in a situation like this or like that. It is basically like a flat HR, I would say, a normal questions in Japanese, not so difficult like India. That is the stress point, I would say. So like I said, the hiring company will definitely process your visa, and they even sponsor your air ticket from India to Japan. And this happened for me. I did not spend any money to come here. I just learned, I invested some money in learning the language, and my payroll company, they initiated my visa process. They booked me a flight ticket from Bangalore to Tokyo, and they even took care of the accommodation, which I am still the room which you see around me, that is sponsored partially by my payroll company. And that's how it works. You can work in Japan if you meet all this category workflow. So a quick reference, I should be able to share these points to you guys. If you want to learn Japanese, you can start with JapanesePod102.com, and these apps called Duolingo, Lingodeer will help you a lot. If you want to follow about news, go for NHK World. And if you want to know about Japan in Tamil especially, there's a channel called Life in Japan Tamil. So I think that's the only channel in YouTube where you can find contents about Japan in Tamil. So you can definitely check this out. And there are also other channels like Only in Japan and Abroad in Japan, where you can find n number of stuffs about Japan related stuffs. Thank you again for giving me an opportunity to reach out to my fellow college alma mater and all the other participants. I hope this session was informative for you, and please start learning Japanese, and that will change your life for sure. And let's unlock the opportunities in Japan. See you in Japan very soon. Thank you.